Happy Sunday, everybody. Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with this week's market overview and a few stocks to watch for next week for trading and investing. Uh, we do not have a ton of economic data coming up next week, but we do have a few things that could impact the markets. We've got Jerome Powell speaking, giving testimony on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then we've got the FOMC minutes. So that could impact the markets. We've got NFIB Small Business Index. Uh, we've got Consumer Price Index and PPI on Friday. Not a lot of stuff that could impact the markets, but we do have some economic data. And of course, Powell could be a big deal. And then we've just got this announcement from Deutsche Bank, which does not appear to be a very positive announcement. Going to lay off about 18,000 people. It looks like they're getting out of the equity trading business, and that could weigh heavy on the financials. So we'll have to see how that plays out, but not the kind of headline you want to see heading into the week. So let's take a look at the overall indexes, different sectors. IBB, we consolidated a bit last week. We've got some potential price resistance up overhead. We're trying to hold on to the 200-day moving average. Just really some consolidation action happening right now. IWM, same thing. We got a little bit of a lift back above the moving averages. We're trying to consolidate. But again, we've got some potential price resistance just overhead there as well. IYT managed to reclaim the 50-day moving average, but we're consolidating. A lot of these sectors just kind of look to be in limbo right now, right? So we could continue to see some choppy sideways action or potentially even a slight pullback. We'll have to see. SMH actually, SMH bounced a little bit on Friday, which is interesting, but we got some negative news out of Samsung. So right now, currently looking like maybe we might be putting in a lower high, right? We'll pull back. We'll see if we can hold the 50-day as support. If not, I think there's potential for us to come back down and test that 200 days somewhere around $100. We also have this week we have a semiconductor conference. I can't remember which day, but we do have a semiconductor conference where some of the big semis will be presenting. We'll have to see how that plays out, but that sector is pulling back. We'll see if we can hold on to that 50-day. S&P 500, so look at where we're at. We're right up against this trend line here, consolidating. I mean, this is looking like an area of potential resistance, right? So maybe we come back and we test the 50-day moving average. We'll have to see, but we're flirting with this 300 mark, all right? Nice round number. I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to consolidate or pull back and test that 50-day. Aerospace defense been one of the stronger sectors out there. I still like the space, but it is at an area of potential resistance. There are a couple of names that I really like, and one of them actually is on this week's list, but several names within the defense aerospace sector look really, really good. But I wouldn't be surprised if we start to stall out here, maybe see a pullback, some profit taking in some of the names that have had some really nice runs recently. XLB building materials, again, look at this trend line. We're coming right up into the underside of it. Could find some resistance there. Maybe we continue to consolidate, build up a little energy. Could potentially see a pullback to an area of potential price support somewhere in the 56 area. Energy, it has been a disappointing space, and there was a little bit of action there last week. You would think this would be a fantastic scenario for energy with everything that's going on geopolitically, but the space just can't seem to catch a lift. So Could be some trading opportunities in there, but that's about it. I think this is still a sector that's going to have some trouble in the long run. We are trying to reclaim the 50-day moving average. We've got the 50 below the 200-day. There's just not a lot going on positive there in the energy space, but it's worth keeping an eye on. Financials, so interesting that we got this Deutsche Bank news, but if you look at it, we're testing this trend line here as resistance as well, and I don't think the Deutsche Bank news is going to be good for the space, but we'll have to see how it plays out. Industrials, did reclaim the 50-day moving average, consolidating. We've got some, potential trend line resistance just overhead. We'll see if we can hold on to that 50-day. XLP, consumer staples, which has been a sector that has been real strong, with considered a safety trade, also sitting at an area of potential trend line resistance. So could see a pullback in consumer staples. A lot of valuations within that space seem to be a little stretched, so wouldn't be surprised at the very least if we just consolidate. Healthcare bounce right back up into this trend line here, and it's finding it to be resistance, so wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit of a pullback in healthcare. Consumer discretionary above the 50-day, consolidating potential price resistance right here at this 120, 121 level, 122 level. You've got this potential trend line resistance overhead, so at an area where at the very least we could see some consolidation or potentially a pullback. XME, metals and miners, so did have a nice pop in gold, but then we got we got a pop in the dollar. You saw gold pull back, maybe metals and miners taking a little break here, potentially find an area of support for a bounce. But gold miners, and some of these metals names could be worth keeping an eye on for some type of a near-term bounce play. XOP and oil and exploration, right? Potential double bottom there, but just not getting a whole lot of lift. It's just not a lot of great looking action in that space. And then retail, not one of my favorite spaces, but is trying to reclaim the 50-day moving average. So overall, to me, I would not be totally shocked if we were to just continue to chop around sideways or pull back, depending on, Powell could have a big impact on the markets this week. If he doesn't sound dovish enough, then maybe, because of the strong jobs number that we just got, if he doesn't sound dovish enough, maybe we, see a market pull back. Maybe if he sounds too dovish, that could be a concern, right? So we'll have to see how it plays out. But overall, I'm kind of anticipating either a choppy or maybe slightly bearish week ahead, but we'll see. You never know. Anything's possible. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the stocks off of the pro member list this week. Don't have any earnings stocks on my radar, so pulling from some of the pro member stocks that I'm sending out. So one of them is Luna, and the pro members will know that this is one that I've been watching for quite a while, actually, and I missed a pretty good entry in this one. It wound up gapping up, and I've been waiting for it to come back down and try and fill that gap, and guess what? It does not look like it wants to do that. And what I really love about this company, I like the sector that they're in, and I also like the fact that they have no debt. Got a small float, nice growth, and some new products that are coming out. They did a couple of acquisitions, one that they paid cash for, and those acquisitions have been kind of, they're moving really well and rolling them into the company, and I like the story here. This is a big spot, 460, to try to get through. This will be the triple tap on this one. I think eventually it's going to take this out. I think it's going to go over $5. I would much rather, I'm looking to take this as a swing. I'd like to get it as close to $4 as possible. maybe this area acts as resistance and pulls back. I may start to dip my toe at 430 down to $4. If it pulled back to the 200-day around 370, I would get more aggressive and build out my entire position. But it trades pretty thin. It only traded 22,000 shares on Friday. I like the space. They're going to be involved in 5G. Like I said, they've got some new products that have come out. I just like the whole overall story, and then I like the look of the chart. And you can see on a weekly time frame, this is a big spot that we're coming up into here. Back this thing all the way out to a monthly time frame. And this is a big area. $465 is a big area. Take out 5, and you've got a couple of resistance points, maybe $6, and then take out 6. Maybe we can get a pop and retest those all-time highs at $10. But I like the story here in Luna, and looking to take a swing position. Would prefer to get it on a pullback. Would love a gap fill. Don't think it's going to happen though. Got a floating island here. Looks like GNK. So last week, shippers, several of them had a very nice move. I suppose off of the fact that China and the U.S. are friends again, and this one actually had a nice pop, closing near the high of the day. Pretty decent volume. It's a big area of potential resistance. The $10 hollow, looking for it to take, maybe get a red to green is what I'm looking for here. Pull back to say 940, maybe 950, somewhere in that area, 930. See if that holds the support for a bounce. A little red to green action. Broke above that 200-day. Pretty impressive little move there. See if maybe this gets some follow through. Day trading opportunity. Like I said, decent volume on Friday. Maxar, full disclosure, been in this one from about $6. Not as big as I would have wanted to be. Actually took a little bit off on last week, but this thing is coming up into the $10 holla. Speculation that they're going to sell off a division for about $1 billion or so dollars. That would help them with their balance sheet significantly. So that is what the stock has been moving off of. I was looking for a pullback actually to re-add to my position, and it doesn't appear as though it's going to give me that pullback. So look, a break over 10 I think could be interesting. I think could be a day trading opportunity if you get some volume there. If you get a pullback in this one to say 880, 870, it's even down to $8. I think that could be an interesting spot to jump into it for a swing. 9 could act as support. Right? Nice round number, $9. Got a little bit of support, $8.99. Could look to maybe take an ad there. Have to see how it plays out. But I think Maxar, the worst may be behind it. And this could be a nice turnaround for a more of a swing or long-term hold type play. But definitely worth keeping an eye on. It's got a fairly small float, and it's got a pretty big short interest. So I think it's an interesting turnaround story. New CEO there. Worth keeping an eye on this one next week. But this is the aerospace defense play that I was mentioning. If the aerospace defense sector pulls back, this one could pull back in sympathy. So just keep that in mind. TNAV. This one was one that I actually have been watching for quite a while, and I missed it. I missed the try. I actually had it, and then I sold it for like basically flat, and then after I did that, it decided to take off after holding it for a while. But 18.3 million shares in the float. Actually, you know what? I better make sure. That might be inaccurate. This might be inaccurate because TC2000 has been off on the float lately. But I do think it's a fairly small float. Let me look at this thing here real quick. Let me just take a look. Float 26.9 million shares in the float. So, decent hold by insiders. This thing has been stair-stepping higher. This is another one that I think I really consider more of a swing than a day trading opportunity. It's just been grinding higher. I would like to get this thing on a pullback to say $7 or so. 690. There's a nice area of potential price support. I don't think really I'm going to get that opportunity. Maybe a pullback to 760 or so. That could be an entry. 760 down to 720, $7. Somewhere in that area would be a great area to enter. It does look like it's consolidating possibly for a 9 test. Maybe get a little pullback to $8 for a little short-term swing. That could be an entry area, but TNAV, pretty good look on it. If you back this thing out to the weekly time frame, right? So 9 is going to be a pretty big area of potential resistance on the weekly time frame. But I think maybe we're going there to test that 9, and like I said, a pullback to 8, 790, somewhere in that area could be an interesting spot for a bounce. So worth keeping an eye on TNAV. Let's see what else we got here. LPTH. So flirting with the $1 holla. Full disclosure, I have a position in this. I've almost got my full position built out. This company has been going through a little restructuring deal. Basically combined facilities, and they've had some additional expenses, but that is pretty much done. This is also a potential 5G play, and it's gotten pretty beaten up. I do think that this last quarter, this quarter coming up, could be, could still have some of those expenses in it, and that could, it could have a rough quarter. After that, though, I think that there should be clear skies ahead, and these guys can get back to profitability and growth. So I like the story here, and currently I am underwater, but I'm looking to potentially add one more time. If this thing were to retest 80 cents or so, or maybe even go down and test the all-time lows around 65 cents, I would look to add my final position. This is a long-term hold, turnaround type play. But I like the look of LPTH. Got a small float. Trades fairly thin. Other thing I like about it, insider buys recently in the $95 to $1 range. So pretty decent size insider buys. There's, everybody hates this thing right now, but I am looking for a potential turnaround here, and eventually a test up to the 150 area, and then maybe break out into the 250 area. So that's my target on LPTH. And let's see, SGMO. So SGMO had some news this weekend. These guys did an offering in April, which priced at $11.50. We're sitting right about there, and it looks like the news was positive. This could gap up on Monday. This could be a gap up. And let me just see what the float is on SGMO. So we've got 115 million shares in the float. And let's see, they've got 351 million in cash, 14 million in debt, and they have positive cash flow. So I like this for a long-term trend line break. I wouldn't want to chase the gap up, but we have some potential price resistance right around $12.77 to $13 or so. We'll have to see where this thing opens on Monday, but the news looked pretty positive. Let's see if we can get maybe a day trading opportunity in this, or potentially even a a swing, since they do have positive cash flow, that one could be worth considering for an actual swing. So I like the look of SGMO. Let's see what it does Monday morning. And that's it. That's it for the sampling of the stocks to watch for the pro members. Could be an interesting week, choppy week. Be careful out there. And that's it. I'll see you all next week.